Welcome to the history of the Kirkland Town Library. Originally the Sigma Phi fraternity house, a Victorian 19th century building built in 1871. My journey began researching the history of the Kirkland Town Library in November of 2011 when members from the Carthage Library in northern New York came to visit the Kirkland Town Library. The Carthage Library was looking for information on the founder of the Carthage Library, Ruth Strickland Allen, who was also a member of the Kirkland Town Library and a resident of Clinton, New York. While researching documents that the Kirkland Town Library has on their history, I found many journals. This is a sample dated March 13th, 1827. 200 shares of stock were to be sold for $2 each for the Library Association. It is noted in one of the journals the library never came close to selling the 200 shares. The library hours were 1 day each month for drawing and returning books. First Wednesday, books were returned on or before 2 p.m. Books were not allowed to be drawn until 4 p.m. If more than one person desired the same book, it was auctioned to the highest bidder. Selected trustees were instructed to be present each day at the library to inspect book returns. Damages back then could be from grease, candles, snuff, ink, dirt, etc. 3 cents for tearing a leaf or a plate or breaking the binding was not less than 6 cents. I just want to thank the Clinton Historical Society for this photo of the Burge Agency, and the date is unknown. In March 21st, 1827, here's a partial copy of the library's journal about the Library Association Society was held in the office of Nathaniel Williams, which is now the Burns Agency. Theodore Woodruff was the first chairman, and Nathaniel Williams Sr. was treasurer and librarian of the Library Association. By 1831, the library had grown to 230 volumes, and by 1834, the library was closed for lack of support. Attending, you can see by the little note up here, attending the meeting of the trustees of the Clinton Library Society was held in the office of Nathaniel Williams, which is now known in the village of Clinton as the Burns Agency. And thank you very much to the Clinton Historical Society for the photo. The date is unknown. In 1882, a second attempt at a library in Clinton, which never functioned. Papers were filed in Albany for incorporation, found some documentation in the library files. However, documents were faded and unreadable. 1901, the beginning of a new library. The first meeting was held in the chapel of the Stone Church on September 5th, 1901 at 4:30 p.m. Present were 30 ladies. Mrs. Raymond called the meeting to order. She felt all communities should have a library, and the journey begins. A little history about the Sigma Phi house, which the Kirkland Town Library did purchase in its first year of occupancy for $3,000. No architectural drawings have ever been found for the building. Contacts that I made were Hamilton College in Oneida County, town of Kirkland, and the society themselves. I did find an article from the Hamilton Literary Monthly dated 1896, and it was mentioned the first hall for Sigma Phi was built in 1871, two gentlemen taking the lead in the supervising of the construction project. Dr. Taurus Kirkland Mandeville, who was an 1849 graduate of Hamilton College, Dr. Manderville, just to know, also built the cottage on Christmas Knob, and in 1896 this cottage was owned by Mrs. Joseph Rudd. Charles Holland Jewell, the second supervisor. He was the U.S. Commissioner of Patents and a lawyer. He also was a graduate from Hamilton College in 1871 and was born in Cortland, New York. In August of 1902, the library was briefly closed so that all books could be classified according to the Dewey Decimal System. The first book catalog was afterwards by Ian McLaren. A card catalog of authors and titles was also prepared. The Sigma Phi 19th century building has seen changes inside and out. In 1901, the library opened using only the two front east rooms of the Sigma Phi fraternity house. In 1903, the building came up for sale. Kirkland Town Library purchased the building for $3,000 with a $1,500 down payment. The building was paid for in full by 1911. 1904, the library had occupancy on the whole first floor. In 1905, our first funding was received from the town of Kirkland, equaling $100. In 1905, electricity was added, and by 1906, a porch, per Mr. Philip Munson research. 1914, indoor plumbing was added. 1920, the Mrs. Margaret Caitlin Brandt Memorial Fund was used for library tables, chairs, a book truck, a periodical rack, lighting system that was purchased and installed. Mrs. Brandt was the board president from 1906 to 1917. Sadly, in 1930, the porch was removed. And in 1939, the Allen Hardware Company was contracted to install an oil burner furnace. This slide is a list of the original trustees of the Kirkland Town Library. This slide is a list of the Kirkland Town librarians and the years that they served. The record is held by Mrs. Mary E. Kimball, who served 27 years as our librarian, better known as Liz. The signs out on the lawn of the Kirkland Town Library have been various. The first 1939 sign indicated that the library was open every afternoon 3 to 6 and Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings 7 to 9. The next sign that I was able to find information out was considered the new 1949 library sign. Was this the red box pictured here? I do not have 100% verification. However, it would be my guess. And you can note that this was retired in 2017. But notice the hours here: Monday through Thursday 10 to 9, Friday 10 to 6, and Saturday 10 to 2. At the end of March in 2017, our newest sign was installed, a gift from the Harding Farm. The signage was created by Paul Hillman and Professional Graphics. Here is a copy of a page from the journal dated 1902, and I just thought you would find it interesting to recognize some of the names. You can see there is a Mrs. Allen and Taylor, Owens, common names. There's a Mrs. Dwight that are still in Clinton today, and then streets are named after, we have Dwight Ave, etc. It's just common names that you found in this journal in 1902 that will be recognized in Clinton today. Now, I also looked at a library annual report from 1942, which was presented by Ada Robinson. She talks about how they raised money for the library from the early years, and I thought it was interesting. Things like rummage sales, trimming of hats by Evelyn Stryker, tea parties, and selling men's clothing. And noted was shortly after the library's 25th anniversary, Mr. and Mrs. Charles B. Rogers presented the library with a hot water heating plant. Previously, stoves were used. During the Depression years, the library was giving 1,000 hours of free labor. Woodwork and floors were varnished, walls were painted, and many repairs were made. We are now jumping to 1991, 90 years. At the annual meeting of the Kirkland Town Library trustees, Catherine Fragel was reelected president. Other officers were Vice President Philip Munson, Secretary Patricia Gerald, and Acting Treasurer Jack Allen. New board members are Jay Anderson, Paul Hines, and Mirio DiAugustino. Elizabeth Hudward, Edwin Lee, and H.G. Webster. The library was open 38 hours a week. 1993. Notice the book drop on the front steps. And do I remember starting at the library in 1996, having to go outside in the bitter cold, trying to keep the front door open and pulling the books in. Also in 1990, the car keychain was introduced, and sadly now in 2021, they are no longer available. The director's report of 1993, prepared by Lois Lemmer, completed the first full year as an automated library. Circulation was 78,097, an increase of approximately 2,000 items over 1992. The rooms in our library have changed over the years. Here's a good example. The copier room, as we've referred to it now, was once called the Pooh Room. The room was established by the Rooney family in memory of their daughter. This slide represents a view of the reading room in 1990s. You can see that the shelves are lined with books, and yes, the yellow book rack that's still in the children's area today is in there. And also, at one time, did you know we had a record library? It was established in memory of Marie K. Marsh by her husband. This is how the library looked in 1992 or 1993, not sure the exact date of the photo. Notice to the left of librarian Ruth Cosgrove checking out books, there was a window. That window was boarded up to add on the outside fire escape. The date of the reading room fireplace on the left, the black and white photo, the date is unknown. But I do note it in research. I found a note that said in 1961, the fireplace covered in the children's room and the original mantle was stored away. AKA, just a note, the children's room is the current reading room. And here is a 2019 photo of the new mantle that was added, unknown whatever happened to the original mantle, and you can see that the beautiful stonework is still there. This slide was the 1994 Read Around the Clock summer theme inspired by Julie Kremer. Note, a time capsule was buried in the front of the library to be opened during the library's 100th birthday. To my knowledge, as of 2019, this time capsule has not been dug up. And here you can see where the lawn was before the parking lot was installed. Changes continue to happen at the library. By 1994, on July 1st, the internet arrives. A $450,000 project was announced as a capital campaign, which will add 3,000 square feet to the existing library. This was added on at the rear of the building, and also the new project would include a parking lot. The renovation will provide improved traffic flow, parking, elevator, restrooms, basic kitchen facilities, reading area, adult fiction, nonfiction space, accessible space for audio and video collections, expanding our young children's area and the staff work area. In 2002, Charter Week was celebrated May 6th to the 11th. Our library was chartered by the University of the State of New York on May 8, 1902. On May 15, 2002, the Friends annual meeting presented Krista Hartman, who spoke about local authors. On October 12, 2002, Rooms for Reading a tour of 6 Clinton homes. And in October 12, 2002, a rummage sale was held at the library. And on December 11, 2002, our final centennial birthday celebration with cupcakes served all day at the library. 2011, here's some beautiful pictures, the front doors of the library and inside the Kirkland Town Library, beautiful fireplace. The photo of the library from 2012. In 2008, visits to the www.kirklandtownlibrary.org were 13,848 and 9,195 residents have library cards. In 2010, the Monday Book Group celebrated their 25th anniversary. Congratulations were wished to all former and current members. And in 2012, pictured here, our new book drop was added. This 2019 photo indicates one of the activities that was held on the front lawn. Volleyball, anyone? Here is a picture of the Hind and Harrison Company, established in 1891. This brought much employment to the Clark Mills area. The history of the Kirkland Town Library cannot be complete without the history of the Clark Mills branch. The Clark Mills Library, the Rhodes Clark Mills Library, was named after Frances Rhodes. Frances was born in Bradford, England on March 15, 1880, the daughter of Peter and Minnie Macaulay. Frances was educated in British schools and a graduate of Edge Hill College, Liverpool, England. Frances, a teacher in Bellevue, England, before her journey to the United States. Frances married Alfred E. Rhodes on August 2, 1907, and in 1910 they made their home in Clark Mills, New York. From 1910 to 1951, Frances served as chairman of the Clark Mills Library for 27 years and remained an active trustee of the Kirkland Town Library. Frances was also involved in the Utica Branch Red Cross and a leader and organizer of the Clark Mills branch of the Girls Friendly Society. On April 3, 1924, the Journal read Mrs. Martin reported interviewing Mrs. Rhodes. Mrs. Rhodes indicated there was a desire to establish a library of 100 books in the schoolhouse. The Clark Mills Library was originally housed in the Clark Mills Grammar School in 1924. I found papers, author unknown, included with the Kirkland Town Library journals. A cupboard was made by a local carpenter. Mrs. Rhodes opened the library, borrowing books from the Clinton Library and using a schoolroom in the Clark Mills Grammar School. The grammar school was located on Main Street and was open one evening per week. During the first year, the library was open from 7 to 8 on Monday evenings, and 4,568 books circulated. This is a photo complimentary of the Clark Mills Historical Society. In 1933, the Clark Mills Library had a home in the Clark Mills School. This home remained until the school merged with the Clinton Central School There were 6 oak shelves and many others that were built by the government WPA worker and held approximately 5,000 books. The library was an all-volunteer staff until 1935 when a 12-hour paid position was made available. And here pictured is librarian Ada Williamson. I found this in one of our scrapbooks, and this was in the Utica Observer Dispatch on August 24th, 1948. And pictured is Mrs. Albert Rose. She was the chairman of the branch of the library, and she's in the back left. Mrs. James Clary, associate librarian. Mrs. Frederick Goodwin, treasurer. Bruce Wadsworth left at the table. Mrs. George Walker, librarian, and Mrs. A. Gow, Mrs. William Ward, and Brian Richardson were committee members. By 1975, the library was located in the Church of Annunciation. Next, a bookmobile truck was used, and in July 1984, Mrs. Hoffman was asked to look at retiring the 35-foot bookmobile truck. Mrs. Hoffman indicated to me over a phone interview the shelving in the truck was beautiful. Clark Mills librarian Rita Hoffman retired in 1991 after working at the Clark Mills branch for 28 years. The final home of the Clark Mills Library was established in 1992 in the Senior Citizen Center. In one of the photos, you'll see Liz Kimball, Kathy Fragel, and Rita Hoffman. And sadly, the Clark Mills Library closed its doors on December 20th, 2005. Our Waterbury Clock that was donated originally to the Kirkland Town Library is now located in the history room. I was looking at items in the library and saw this clock, and then I read this article and I said, oh, that's got to be the electric clock. When we pulled down or took the clock off the wall, it was discovered, no, this is the original wind-up clock. The clock was repaired in 2013, and it continues to keep on ticking. The Kirkland Art Center resided at the Kirkland Town Library in the room upstairs that is now our large public room from December 4th, 1960 to 1966. When the Kirkland Art Center moved from the library, they were reimbursed $4,500 for repairs they did to the space. The Clinton Historical Society, which was formed in 1962, moved into the vacated rooms after the Kirkland Art Center, and then they moved in 1993 to their current location, also located in the village. The room was later used by the library for film showing, children's programs, meeting room, local groups such as Girl Scouts Home Bureau, just to name a few. The second floor was used years ago by the boys' school, the Clinton Preparatory School, between 1890 and 1893 for a gymnasium. From December 4th, 1960 to 1966, the Kirkland Art Center housed upstairs in the Kirkland Town Library. When the Kirkland Art Center moved from the library, they were reimbursed $4,500 for the repairs they had done. The Clinton Historical Society, which was formed in 1962, moved into the vacated rooms, and they moved in 1993 to their current location, both now located in the village of Clinton, in older churches. The room later was used by the library for film showings, children's programs, and meeting rooms for local groups. Just a few examples: the Girl Scouts Home Bureau, the Writers Club. The second floor was once used years ago by the Clinton Preparatory School between 1890 and 1893 for a gymnasium. December 4th, 1960, the Kirkland Art Center occupied the rooms upstairs until 1966, When the Kirkland Art Center moved from the library, they were reimbursed $4,500 for the repairs they had done to the space. The Clinton Historical Society, which was formed in 1962, moved into the vacated rooms. They moved to their current location in the village in 1993. The room later used by the library for film showing children's programs, a meeting room for local groups, just to name a few, Girl Scouts, Home Bureau, the Writing Club, and staff training. The second floor was used many years ago by the Clinton Preparatory School between 1890 and 1893 for a gymnasium. I'd like to introduce you to Eliza Hawk Smith Raymond. She was born October 1st, 1844 in Massachusetts and educated in Ipswich Female Seminary. Eliza was a member of Mount Holyoke, the class of 1867, and she had a twin sister, Mrs. Spitzer, in Northampton, Massachusetts. Eliza married Samuel Raymond, and they married on October 11th, 1871, in the city of Enfield, Massachusetts. Eliza Smith Hawks Raymond felt every community should have a library. Eliza and Samuel lived at 69 College Street, the now known address. Note the original address was 63 College Street, but due to changes in the town of Kirkland, the address was updated. They had 4 children. Elizabeth was an active member in the community and involved in the Stone Church, the Library Association, and the Monday Club. She served in the board of managers of the Utica Memorial Hospital. Eliza died at the age of 84 at her residence in 23 Scott Street, Utica, New York. At that time, she was living with her daughter, Mrs. Ebenezer Lamb. And working at the Kirkland Town Library ran in the family. Eliza's daughter, Ruth Lamb, also served as librarian. Miss Ruth received recognition from the New York Library Association in 1920. She was a winner of one of the scholarships offered by the association to librarians of small community libraries. I'd like to introduce you to Elizabeth Woosley Goss Stryker. Thanks to her granddaughter, Mrs. Stevens, Elizabeth of Clinton, New York, who directed me to the New York Historical Society located in Cooperstown, New York, for photos. Elizabeth was born 1856 in Meriden, Cayuga County, New York, to Reverend Simon and Mary Weber Goss, longtime residents of the Auburn, New York area. Elaine's father, Reverend Simon Goss, died in a stagecoach accident in 1865 in Rochester, New York. At the age of 20, Elizabeth married Melanchon Woosley Stryker in Auburn, New York. Melanchon Stryker was born in 1851 in Vernon, New York, and attended Hamilton College, being a member of the class of 1872. The Strykers moved to Clinton from Chicago. Melanchon had accepted the presidency of Hamilton College, serving as president from 1892 to 1917. Elizabeth and Melanchon had 6 children. In 1926, they celebrated their golden wedding anniversary and moved to the Stryker homestead in Rome, New York. Built in 1838, the residence was located at 112 East Liberty Street, Rome, New York, and was known as Liberty Hall. This note represents some information from 1919. The circulation of fiction was 686 items. 1,226 fines amounted to a total of $8.11. Note, we are now fine free and we have automatic renewals. Here is the bookmark. The date is actually unknown, but Ella Ernst was librarian, and she was librarian for 26 years. You can see there's also some advertisements on it. And if you look at the phone number for that advertisement, it's 2-0214. Certainly things have changed, but you can also see the hours of the library: Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, 3 to 6 p.m., Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evening, and 7 to 9. Ella Ernst was a librarian for the Kirkland Town Library, and she is pictured in this photo in the center of the last row. When Ella became librarian, the library had 500 books. Upon her retirement, there were 13,000 books. Possible faces in this photo are Alma, Helen, and Betty Bush, Shirley Hughes, Betty Fox, and Dick Owens. Mrs. Bessie Powell. She was librarian from 1923 to 1926. Notes from the November 3rd, 1923 board meeting. Mrs. Powell has been engaged as librarian at a salary of $35 a month for the first 6 months, and later being at the rate of $500 per year. It was voted that the League of Women Voters could meet at the library one evening a month for $5, and in February 1924, repair was needed to the coal bin. This slide contains a few photos of librarian Mrs. Maloney. She's shown in 1959 with Troop 82, and on the right, library Mrs. Maloney looked like she's handing over some type of award or presentation. The date and the event is unknown. 1966, Friends of the Library. I do not know the names, but the Friends of the Library was organized in 1963 with Mrs. Edith Barrett as the first president. Mrs. Harold Bodmer, she was librarian from 1960 to 1964. Mary Elizabeth Kimball, better known as Liz, was librarian from 1966 to 1993, and after leaving the library, she came back as a volunteer and worked on overdue books, and you can make her day by returning a long overdue book. Liz was always willing to help and involved in the community activities with the library. In 1993, Miss Mary Elizabeth Kimball, better known as Liz, retired. At her retirement, her last library report indicated the library held 28,420 items. The top photo is Liz Kimball in 1986, celebrating the library's 85th birthday. Connie Park, who was a librarian at the Kirkland Town Library, retired in 1990. I'm sure many of you will remember Jean Bowling. She passed away in 2008, and she was the greeter to many. And I interviewed Liz Kimball, and at one time she told me that Jean cleaned the library inside, and her husband Harold took care of the snow shoveling, etc. outside. Well, one time Liz had a family emergency and could not open the library, so she told Jean to put away her broom and work the front desk until she arrived. From then on, they became quite the team at the library. Photos here from 1994 with the dedication of the flagpole, and it's Jean Bowling, Liz Kimball, Lois Lemmer, and Elizabeth Hubbard. In 1996, the bottom photo, and please take a look at the size of the computer, is Liz and Jean holding the front desk. Lois Lemmer was director from 1993 to 2011. These photos were from the 2007 parade. In 2012, I interviewed Lois, and she indicated the library, "We will always have a hopping place," were Lois's words when I asked her, "What do you see for changes concerning the library?" No, in 1980, Lois was hired as the coordinator of children's services. Photos from 1987 and 1989 of Lois Lemmer at the Kirkland Town Library. Thanks for listening to the history of the Kirkland Town Library. We are proud to be part of the community of Clinton and the surrounding areas. We hope to see you soon at the Kirkland Town Library. Take care and be safe.